introduce our latest author. He is the Book of the Month author for May. His name is Mark E. Scott, and he wrote a book called A Drunk Log. I'll see if I can put it up here. Sometimes it works and sometimes it gets mixed up with all the stuff, but there it is. It's a Drunk Log, and it's a very strange name, but it is a very wonderful book. So welcome to our show, Mark.
Thank you very much, Anita.
So, you know, everyone wants to know, as soon as I talked to them about the book, well, was that about him? I said, well, I asked him and he said, no. So tell us now how you got this idea.
Well, I mean, okay. So the idea itself came, I was hiking Pikes Peak with a small group of friends, one of whom is a scientist. She's an astrophysicist. And I was making her talk all the way up the mountain to the point where she ended up with actually getting altitude sickness because I made her talk so much. But she was just telling me about how she was out drinking one night in Athens, Ohio, where she was working on her doctorate at Ohio University. And she wanted to keep a record of everything she thought and felt. The more she drank, the more records she was keeping. And she said she called it the Drunk Log. And I said, you know, can I have that idea, please? And she said, yeah, it's all yours. And so I came back home here, talked with a friend of mine about it. And he loved the idea, but he said, hey, why is he doing all this? Why is he writing everything down? And so that's where I built this story around that idea. But now when it comes to I do know all the bars in the book. So the reality part there is that I'm very familiar with my neighborhood here in Cincinnati. And
maybe they'll all buy your book since you named them in the book.
I'll have to go around and ask them. Come on, guys, buy
the book.
So, yeah.
Well, but this is the other part of it that I really just found fascinating. It's one thing for a writer to write, and I review so many books, but the way that you handled this with you write a little bit on the page, and then you get into the person's head and you let all of us know what he's thinking.
That's very kind of you. I didn't, I know that you had mentioned something about that in your review, and I was like, wow, okay. Who knew I was doing that? It didn't occur to me. I've been writing this way for a while, and I loved reading it. I loved hearing it. And also that you actually found it enjoyable.
Well, and so, I couldn't wait for the next page. And the next page, what was he thinking? What was he thinking? And it was so fascinating. As I said in the book that I don't drink, and so I've never been an alcoholic, but I sure learned what it was like. I mean, it was a fascinating idea, and of course there's a lot more to it. Yeah. And I think everybody has done things in their life, and I don't want to tell too much about the book, but everybody's done things where they're mortified or they wish they could take it back. But your hero, I'll call him a hero in a way, he really took this deep, and he needed to do something. And unfortunately, it was going to be a very sad ending, but it wasn't. And that was very clever how you handled that.
That's, again, thank you. And my initial ending was not going to be as pleasant. I was going to go, full on French ending, I think, and ended up pulling that back when some other ideas came forward, came forward in my head. So, yeah, I like the ending too. It gives them a chance to it's a redo, which we all desire, at various times in our lives. We all seek redemption in one form or another,
Well, your star, though, your character, Jack, right? Jack?
Yes.
That happens to be the name of my dog, too, so that was interesting. But he was really a likable person. People liked him at all the bars. Everyone liked him. They wanted to know what he was doing. But the woman in this book, we really liked her. I saw that coming on at the beginning, but it wasn't very powerful. But boy, it sure did get powerful after, didn't it?
Arya was a surprise to me, how she took over. She, I fell in love with her. Initially she was going to be a side character, just somebody to sort of get the ball rolling, and then I was going to have him sort of go from Arya to Arya, or whatever male or female version of that as the evening progressed. And then I thought, no, I need to keep her. So she became an integral part of the story and had her own story as well. I like.
Yes, you see, that was the other way that you did that. But I just want to tell everybody, you're listening to Mark E. Scott, who is a wonderful author of Drunk Log. He is our book of the month for May of Boomer Times. But I want to carry on with her for a moment. And I thought, what one nice kiss can do, huh?
Yeah. There was, I hope that the way you found the way I described it, to be innocent yet powerful. And
Right,
I just loved it. I loved writing that part. And I could picture it as I was writing it, I was picturing it happening. And but she's the perfect person for him.
Yes. Right.
She
and all the people at the bars knew her too. I mean, because here she was a bartender.
Right.
But she was determined to help him. I mean, that was her goal then, and no matter what it took.
Right. Yeah, that was her chance for redemption as well, to if she could save him. And again, without giving out too much of the book,
Sure.
but she needed it. In her head, she needed that opportunity, and she wasn't going to let it go.
And when do you think that he really thought more of her than just that bartender? Where in the book was that? When I thought it was when he saw this woman searching for him. This woman who he knew. Why was she doing this? Why was she going to help him?
Well, that's near the end.
Yes.
I think so. Initially, he almost doesn't want to leave because of her. She's protecting him right off the bat from would-be interlopers into his writing, and he has this debate: am I going to stay? Am I going to go? He decides to go because he doesn't want her to be part of what he's of the undertaking, which he can't stop it from happening anyway because she becomes part of the undertaking.
Right.
It's fated. She is fated to chase after him, but when he begins to have feelings for her, which is I have the back scene of the kiss. That's during this period, this year that he's just been through, between the death of his nephew and now, and he doesn't feel worthy of her. So he can't allow himself to give her any hope, or himself any hope of a relationship.
But let's talk about the author part of this. So this is your first book, right?
This is the first book I've had professionally published. It is actually the fourth book I've completed.
Oh, really? I don't know. Did I get that before? I didn't remember that.
I don't know, Anita. The very first book I finished was in 1994, and it was called King of Peru. So
yeah, I did not hear about this.
Yeah, it's okay.
You still have it, and so you still have it, of course.
I do, and this publisher is going to publish it. after I get a good look at it again, it's an old manuscript, so I have to make sure that it's worthy of my writing now, I guess.
And then you have 3 others?
The one that came after King of Peru is called Bogeyman. The one that came after that is called Burning Buildings. And then now Drunk Log is number 4.
Okay, so this has not been your profession. Has this been a hobby for you?
Funny you use the word hobby. I would prefer the term passion.
Oh, good. Passion is a good word.
Hobby makes all
No,
the
no,
hours.
before
Yeah.
when you were doing it. Okay, it started out maybe as a little hobby, but then you got passionate because you liked writing. You liked to read what was in your brain, didn't you?
It is one way to get it out of my brain instead of sticking
Right.
an ice pick in my ear,
I see.
But the first book I ever tried writing, I was 15.
Really?
Yeah, my buddy Andy McClary and I thought we're gonna, we were really nerds. We're into Lord of the Rings, and we're like, hey, let's. So it was sort of a rip-off of Lord of the Flies with a lot of armor and swords.
Oh.
But we maybe got 20 or 30 pages in, and then got distracted by girls or whatever. No, yeah, but no, I've been at this for a while, and so it was overwhelming actually when I signed a contract for this book and
Wow.
a couple more. Yeah.
And so are you your own typist?
I am. Yeah.
Ah, and people always ask about authors and they say, well, do they just sit there and write? I said, no, they organize this. They put little stickies up places. They know where they're going. I think, isn't that true? You can't just sit down and just start writing because it wouldn't be very well organized.
That there's a middle ground there, Anita. So I think that's where I work. And so before I've ever started a book, I've known the beginning and the end. I know how it begins and I know how it ends. And that way, whatever happens in the middle is always going to hopefully fit into that major story arc.
Right.
And then, and then there's all these mini arcs in between. So in the case of sticky notes, I don't use sticky notes. What I do, and I was writing last night on book 3 of this series, and I'm pushing to the end. So I write myself notes. It's 1:30 in the morning, and
right.
And I'm like, oh, I've got all these great ideas. So I write notes at the end in capitals to remind myself tonight what I was writing about and why and what I'm going to write next. So that's how I do it.
Okay, that's good. Well, so you're really a captive of your mind at this point now. I mean, your mind's not letting you free.
That's a wonderful way to put it.
Right. Yes, you're the and now you just slipped in that part that this is number 3 in your brain. What have you done with number 2? Is that written?
It is. It's with the publisher already, and he's waiting, I think, to make sure that I write a 3rd one before he publishes the 2nd one.
Really?
I would imagine he's not told me that, directly. Thank you, Kurt. But I think that, if I was him, I would go, well, let's make sure this new guy, can actually has the chops to write that 3rd book before we publish the 2nd one.
I see. I didn't understand that. Well, you're very lucky that someone appreciates your writing ability. And I know that you do have it. And I think that, probably your 2nd and 3rd will even, if it's possible, be better because you're now honing your skills.
Thank you so much for that. it was questioning this morning, with my significant other. I have a best friend who's a writer, and my insecurities are constantly inflicted upon them. I'm like, what if the second one's not as good as the first one? What if the third one? What am I doing with the third one? So I was bouncing, ideas off my significant other this morning. I'm like, listen, at 1:30 in the morning, I came up with this idea, and what do you think about it? And she's like, no, it's fine. It's going to be fine. Just shut up. Leave me alone.
Right. You're worrying too much, really. But that's, I think, a good sign that you see you're like that famous artist, never will stop. Finally, someone who says, okay, it's finished. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Oh my God. With burning buildings, and especially that took me years to stop it. Just
What
put it.
happens?
And then it was my editor for this book, Drunk Log, David told me, David, oh my God, said, stop writing, just stop, we're
Right.
good.
Right.
And it was fine.
Well, because I just want to see again, I forget how many pages it is. I knew, but see, it's a 300.
About 220?
Yeah, it's 304. No?
No.
204. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's 204, right. Okay. And that's why it's a great book, because you can get through this so easily. It's let me just do this with my camera. I can't put it up here again. I put it in my face. No, it's not working. I don't know. There it is. Okay.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. I'll put it this way. Because people will say, I like short chapters, because then I don't know, it's true. You go to a chapter and then you say, what's the next chapter? If it's really long, sometimes I don't have time to do it, but your chapters were good size, they were short in a way. But I will repeat this. You drove me to keep reading because I got into his head all the time, what he was thinking, what he wasn't going to do, what he was going to do. That really is, I don't know if your other books are going to be like this, but it's a very good way, I think, to write. I haven't seen a lot of this.
You're very kind. And to give you a sense of how the 3 books are structured, each one covers 8 hours. So at the end of book 1 is the beginning of book 2. And then 8 hours later, book 3.
Oh, I'm gonna have to get into that. So that's right. So, and that's what happens with us. A lot of times we're enjoying the heroes, the people, and then they're gone. We come back. I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. So that's a very good thing that you're doing. So we're not finished. We can still be with that person and what he or she is doing. And then there's a third one. That was very smart of you and your publisher. What can you tell us what the name of the other 2 are? You probably shouldn't.
Book 2 is called Drunk Log First Date. It's an irony too.
I see that. I think you wrote that in this thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just say First Date, a day in the life series book by Mark E. Scott, right?
And then, yeah, absolutely. And then, and again, that was David Tabaski, my editor, the genius, who just tells me what to do, and I mostly do it. But and then book 3 is right now, the working title is Free Will, because I feel this is where Jack begins to, at the end of this long period that he's just gone through, he begins to understand that everything's going to be okay.
And will you end with book 3? Then you'll have to start a whole new idea and series?
My intention is to end it at book 3. I honestly have my idea. I don't have any wonderful ideas what to do with it after that, although I do have 2 or 3 friends who don't want it to end.
Right.
Because they, I'm going to miss Jack Canaria. That's what I get.
Well, but you see, that's a writing skill that you created. These people have become real. And and that's really very clever that they're, and I think, and I'm going to go back to this, the way that you positioned it, getting into his head, made him very real, because we have friends, but we don't really know what they're thinking, you see, but you made it clear that we got to hear what he was thinking.
Gosh, that's thank you.
It's a clever way. You might want to consider that in your future books, because I think that's what drew me in, and I couldn't stop reading it.
I love hearing it. You can't give me a better compliment that he couldn't put it down.
That's right. Put it down. Marky Scott, Drunk Log. It's it's actually a day in a day. Well, it's just what? No, I'm sorry. A Day in the Life, book 1. That's what we're talking about. And even though you may not be an alcoholic, and maybe you
I
are,
may not be. We're not quite sure, but
yeah, that's right. Maybe if you are an alcoholic, you'll enjoy it. If you're not one, you'll enjoy it, because it's the way some people take drugs for other reasons. But this was his mode of drug. It was alcohol. But in the process, when you're having alcohol, you're really still there in a way. You just do funny things, or you think differently. So I think you'll get an assortment of people reading this who, first of all, the name, and I told you that when I first talked to you, Drunk Log, and you can thank that lady, of course. She said you could use it. But Drunk Log, I've told you also that my grandchildren are 16 there, and I was telling them about this. They said, Drunk Log, what is that, Grandma? I said, well, I tried to explain a little bit, and they got it. It was fascinating for them. So I didn't have the book with me. When are you going to bring the book for me to read? I said, okay, I'll bring it.
I think you should, from my perspective, you could always just make them buy their own.
Right. I know, but really it's really great. And I'm really so pleased that you're so enthusiastic. I always like talking to my office this way, other than just talking on the phone and all. Now I get to see you, your beautiful smile, the palm tree waving in the back, the ocean breezes. And so this was really a great thing. And I do look forward to hearing about your other books, and look forward to your getting some real awards for your writing.
Wow. I don't even know how that happens, but that would be incredible.
Yeah.
So,
because we didn't talk about your profession before, but it was in a lot of different areas. So it was never in literature, which gives people hope. So for those of you watching this, if you think you can write, if you don't even know if you can write, if you're doing a diary, you're doing a memoir, start writing. Isn't that what your advice would be to them?
oh, absolutely.
Mark?
Yeah. As you pointed out earlier, writing is the way to get your externalize what's in your head, write it down, and then you'll be surprised at what you wrote even 2 days later, and go back and go, what did I just do?
Right. Just keep you up at night. Well, Mark, we'll be getting you on next month also, and we'll know a lot more about you. But I really do thank you for coming on and sharing your the pain and the pleasure of writing. And thank you. I know you're in Ohio now, right?
Cincinnati, as you can tell, Cincinnati is right on the beachfront.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been to Cincinnati, but anyway, good luck. And if we can do anything else, but everybody should buy this book. They just go to Amazon and go get Drunk Log. You won't forget that name. And I think you'll really enjoy the book. It's a fast read, but it's quite in depth, and there'll be things that you'll be feeling very similar to Jack, the protagonist. And so thank you again. I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you so much, Anita. Yeah, this has been great. Bye-bye.